right, welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Leader, where we dive deep on all things leader related to leading yourself better, and of course, leading the people around you and your organizations. We have a fantastic guest today. I know you're going to love this episode because what a dynamic, interesting guy. I've got Greg Centineo, who is a entrepreneur extraordinaire. He's got an unbelievable story. I'm looking forward to having him share, and incredibly successful individual personally, and also helping other businesses and executives and CEOs achieve great levels of success. So Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks, John. Great to be with you, man.
Yeah, you too. I know we had such a great conversation a few weeks ago as we were prepping for this. So I'm looking forward to hearing some of the great stories and everything. I think what maybe a great point would be, you've been such a successful entrepreneur, leader, impactor, influencer. I know it started, from what I understand, at a pretty early age. When did you get that entrepreneurial bug and bit by that?
Man, I probably didn't even know what the word entrepreneur was when I was an entrepreneur. So it had to be when I was really young. I mean, going back to even age 8, believe it or not, where I was selling women's elephant pins, pink, black, and white, door to door in Brooklyn. And, my dad came home and gave me the elephant pins, and I was knocking on doors. So cold calling and selling elephant pins at the age of 8, and so I think it was always in me, just kind of make things happen.
That's pretty cool. Was that's got to be scary as an 8-year-old, but you probably did pretty well with it.
I think they bought from me because I was an 8-year-old knocking on their door. And I gets to do that. I still remember it though. I remember 59th Street in Flatbush and just this ringing doorbells.
That's awesome, man. So when did you started then getting into business yourself? I think you shared a little bit a few years down the road from that. What was your first business officially?
We family business. My dad he was a serial entrepreneur, really successful at what he did. And he kind of, my older brother, Bob, he gave Bob finished college. He said, look, pick any business you want and I'll buy you a company and go into that and so forth. And that doesn't mean he's going to go buy Macy's for my brother, but the point was he could pick McDonald's. And so the idea was, and the rule was, if I buy you a business, then your 2 other brothers, Joe and Greg, have the opportunity when they graduate to come into the business as well as partners. So that was kind of a caveat that our dad created for us if we wanted it. My brother, we always joke about it, but he could have picked anything. Like I said, a McDonald's. At that time, they were going for $100,000 a franchise.
Wow.
And he chose to go into the landscaping business. So we started to cut lawns as a family business, which we rib him a lot about now. And that was kind of, that was my introduction into early business as a 12-year-old. My dad made me go cut grass on Saturdays when I was off of school. In the summertime, I had to go cut grass with my brother. So young and, so underdeveloped that physically I couldn't even start the lawnmower, John. So my brother used to have to start the mower for me, and then I'd just go ahead and cut.
Wow. So 12 years old, you're out there cutting lawns. That's not the typical 12-year-old. Well, not the typical 8-year-old knocking on doors either. So now what did that morph into? So, and how long were you part of that business?
So I did that for 12 years, 12 to 24. And, obviously became a partner out of high school. And we built a pretty substantial, business, landscaping business, exterior decorating business, et cetera. And, but then I kind of, approaching my mid-20s, I started to really think more existentially. I was making money, making really good money. We had a pretty large business, but I started to just bigger questions started to pop into my head. Why am I here? What's the meaning and purpose to life, et cetera, and so forth. So that kind of led me down a different path. I ended up going to seminary to study theology. I figured I had some big questions. I need some big answers. I better go toward the religious side of things. And that's kind of led me down that track for about 15 years, 24 to about 40.
Wow. And what did that must have been an unbelievable time of life. I mean, what did that help you? Was that what did that kind of teach you? What did you get out of that?
Well, number one, when you talk about leadership, right? I was leading myself, all through my life, you know what I mean? I was acquiescing into different things. And so if I didn't feel good about something, I changed it and I went into something else. At 16, I was, during the winters, I was working at Food Town, which is a grocery store, and doing produce. And after about 6 months, I was like, I hate this. And my dad had said, if if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I realized I'm working for minimum wage and I hate what I do. So I first major decision, 16, left Food Town and said, I'm not going to do that because I don't like it. So I made a decision at 16, I will do what I love to do in this world. I will find a way to do things that I can make money at, that I enjoy, and enjoy the people that I work with. So all along, right throughout my course, I left business at 24, went to seminary because I just was done with business. I wanted to go find out questions. So again, leadership begins at a young age. You make decisions, you follow your intuition, you follow what that kind of the why in your life is. And that why changes throughout the course of your lifetime. The ministry was an amazing experience, man. So I didn't even know I was going to go into ministry. I just figured I'd go study theology and come out, go back to business. I ended up going into the ministry. So I learned a lot about leadership, how to lead people, more importantly, how to build teams. And more important than that, John, how to actually build teams when you weren't paying people.
Right.
So it was like this was all volunteer work. So I had to realize, wow, how do I inspire? How do I motivate people to work with me? You know, and again, like I always kid around, you know, in the church, everyone wants to volunteer and work, you know, and so usually the people that are volunteering got nothing to do. And they're not always the cream of the crop. No insult intended to anybody out there. Yeah. I'm just talking in reality, right? So, but I would spot different types of people in the church, you know, young professionals in their 30s, sharp, drove nice cars, was self-starters, self-motivated. And I would approach them to work with me and the high school, college kids that I was working with. I wanted the best of the best. So I had to learn how to really inspire people to work with me and attract great talent. And I wasn't paying them. So they're going to volunteer their off time to work with us. And that was a huge experience for me over a course, and built great teams, 40, 50 staff, all volunteer, that would take their week vacation and go with us to the mountains in Georgia with the kids, or go to Europe, pay their own way to do a mission trip with the kids. And wow. So I learned, unbeknownst to me, what I was learning was how to really be why driven, you know, purpose driven in what I'm doing, and how people will be drawn to that and want to be part of something bigger than themselves, which helped me out later on in life when I got into some real substantial business endeavors.
That's amazing. I mean, that's, you know, most leaders, they rely on, and whether you're a coach of a team and you've got, you know, the kids playing time or the athletes playing time, that's a little leverage. You've got, you know, as somebody who got people on the payroll, you're paying them, but that's a whole different level of leadership. And you started with that, really. That was your first leadership experience. So what was that why? I mean, how did you tap into that to get the great people? Like, what was that?
Well, you know, when it's about changing people's lives, right? So, and that stays with me till this day. Everything I do in business is about changing lives, and mine included. Yeah. And so it was the same thing back then. The purpose behind what we were doing was helping to change high school and college kids' lives, and eventually, you know, adults' lives. And so that became a driving force to why we did what we did. And the stakes were massive, because you can literally alter a person's life by being there for them, listening to them, helping them, guide them through the tough years of their life. And so people felt a real sense of belonging to what we were doing. My staff, the volunteer staff, had a lot of meaning. Many of them were doing things, they were making a lot of money, but that wasn't fulfilling some of the things they were looking for. But here they were really investing into people and seeing that benefit. And I think it was kind of a yin and yang. They were giving and taking at the same time.
So and I want to go back to a couple of different things you said. So one is, you know, when you are building your team, you know, you're going after people that you knew were the A players. You wanted to get great people. And I talked to a lot of people running organizations, and they're trying to build, and sometimes is an attitude of, hey, I just need people. I need, you know, quantity. I need body mass. How important is that and where is that balance between, hey, I just need to get A players versus just people?
Well, that's different. It's gonna be the outcome. So if you hire mediocre people or less, then what I can tell you what your outcome is going to be. It doesn't change. You know what I mean? And secondarily, you're only going to draw people to the level by which you actually live and act and respond. Mm-hmm. So I was an A game player in the ministry. I was taking no prisoners. I had a purpose. I was driven. I had a strategy. I knew what I wanted to do. I had a level of excellence in what I did. Most times in the churches, that's, again, no offense, mean, I speak from my own experience. It didn't matter. Serve hot dogs and hamburgers at a barbecue. That's poison.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even from the food that we served our kids, it had to be, I was health conscious. So everything I did was at a level of excellence. And when great people that are out there building their lives and their businesses or a part of companies live by those, they're drawn to that same type of leadership. So for me, it was, no, I'm not going to accept anything less than the best working for me. You know what I mean? And it didn't mean that you had to be a successful person to work with me. It just meant you had to have the desire to live a life of excellence, to build things of excellence. And you kind of draw that to yourself as a leader. And so it wasn't hard, believe it or not, you know, to build those teams, but we ran a really amazing concept that, call it a company for that, for all intents and purposes. It was a massive operation.
And it seems like when you build that organization, I mean, you've got a bunch of A players. They don't want B players as part of the organization, and it becomes easier and easier to attract A players. And then sometimes, did you find you made mistakes every once in a while? Did you bring in people that, or were you good enough at identifying the right people, or did you bring in some people that you quickly realized, no, they're not a fit?
You always there's always those mistakes. You know what I mean? That's part of it. But I had a really good sense of picking people, you know what I mean? From character and workability and personality types. But I also was smart enough that I didn't just bring people on. I had a leadership team, my internal leadership team. So I wasn't a lone ranger, that it was checks and balances. And so my internal leadership team would also interview people. So it wasn't just me feeling something. You throw it off of your team, and that's the key of synergy and really working together as a group, collaboration. Mm-hmm. So that kind of environment it wasn't, hey, Greg says it, we're doing it. No, I didn't lead that way. It was like, hey, if you're working with me, and again, that's part of an environment that people wanted to be part of. They were part of it. They were creating success, not just, you know, I mean, my success because I was leading.
Yeah.
These people were creating success in their own circles in our ministry. So
yeah.
Every once in a while you bring on somebody, it doesn't work out, but that's all part of it, man. It wasn't a mistake. We said it just, hey, we gave it a shot. It didn't work out. No worries.
Yeah. So I want to go back a little bit. And then we'll go forward because I got a lot to ask you about. But you made that decision. You know, you were 24, 22, making a lot of money doing the landscaping business. I see people, I know you do too, all the time, where all their decisions are driven by money, their career decisions or life decisions, everything. You made a totally different decision based on what you wanted to do and your why. Talk about that a little bit. Like, what's that mean? And when you see people driven by money, what does that end up being?
Yeah, you know, I don't judge that. That's, you know, people have what motivates people. And I think if that's what you're designed to do, and that's then you do it. You know what I mean? That becomes your major priority. I think it's important that everybody finds who they are and goes with that natural bend and you're in a state of becoming. So become who you need to be. For me, it was interesting as I reverse engineer my life, John. I go back and I go, wow, that's so interesting, man. I was making good money. I mean, we're making a couple $100,000 a year as a 19, 20-year-old partner back in the, 80s.
Wow.
I mean, you know, so that was great money. I mean, I was driving a 300 ZX, paid 4K. I mean, yeah. But there was something missing for me, man. And money, I want money, but it wasn't the most important thing. So I made that kind of pivot. And that really kind of helped me understand an important aspect of who I am. What makes me really happy is helping people, mm-hmm. right? And so once I got in that track, then my number one priority was, okay, what's important to me is not the money, but what is it that I'm going to do? And will it change people's life? Is there a bigger component, a larger component than just money? And so I ended up coming up with a small formula that basically was three things I would always start to ask is, well, number one, who is it that I'm working with? You know what I mean? Because that's night and day. Who you surround yourself with 12, 13, 15, 19 hours a day is going to make you happy or sad. Not the money, but who you're spending your time with. So number one priority for me is who I work with. Do I like them? Can I get along with them? Is there a lot of commonality between who we are and what we do? Number two is, what are we selling, or what is it that we are doing? What's the product? And do I believe in the product? Can the product get me out of bed in the morning? Do I believe so hard in this product, you know, that I can get out of bed? There was a guy about 4 or 5 years ago called me, great guy. I think he's doing great. He created a coconut opener. You know, he used to, you know, formerly get a hammer and people are cutting their hand. He created this coconut opener. He called me because he needed $5 million. He said, can you help me raise money? Can you help me build a? So I sat, and I was at the time, I was doing a lot of coconut water. So I was intrigued at what he was doing and loved him. I loved his entrepreneurial spirit. I liked the product, and was the money going to be there if it worked? Yeah. Which is my third criteria. Can I make money at this, right? But when I got to the product, I just said, the product, creating a coconut opener is not enough to get me out of bed in the morning. Like, I can't get stoked on that. I hope it succeeds. I'll buy it if it hits the market because I'll use it, but it's not something I can pour my life into.
Yeah.
And so the answer was no to that, right? So I didn't believe in the product enough. The product's got to get me out of bed in the morning. The third question is, can I make money in this? Is there the opportunity that we can make money? Yeah. And so those are the three things. Some people say, first question they ask is, well, how much money are we going to make? And that's okay, man. That's not saying there's a right or wrong to the, how we juggle those three. For me, it's what makes me happy, man. If I put money first, John, I'm not happy, man. And I don't love the who I'm working with and what I'm doing. Oh my gosh, dude, it's suicidal.
Yeah. So you figured out your own criteria, and everybody's got their own criteria. Let's say that. It's interesting. I think I saw that business on Shark Tank. I think he was on there, right? The coconut guy. Yeah.
He got up to show. Yeah, I think he did. I'll buy it.
Yeah. So let's talk about your next kind of chapter of life. You went from ministry to, I believe, the next step was movie production. If I'm not
banking.
Oh, banking. Okay.
No, coffee. I went from the ministry to a coffee company. I actually got fired in 1999 by a big church in Boca, the church that I was working at. I use that term. It's an endearing term. It was just indifferent. We had just differences. I was growing in my pursuit, in my engagement with people, and how I was doing ministry. I wasn't afraid to try and experiment. And so they were a little bit more conservative. So we parted ways in 99, and fortunate for me, about 500 to 1,000 people followed me.
Wow.
I was completely lost back then. I said to this group, I said, follow me, I'm lost. I just know what I'm looking for is not in that building.
Mm-hmm.
And
they still followed you.
They still followed me. And I said, I'm just trying to figure it out, man. I'm trying to figure out the difference between religion and spirituality, man. I just felt that it was too religious in these buildings and these institutions. And I walked away from institutional religion in 99. My kids were 5 and 6. So it was a really traumatic time for me because I stripped my identity. I no longer was a pastor. I didn't have a parking spot anymore. I was out I was a nomad, and I had these people wanted to follow me. So it's funny. I came up with an idea. I didn't want to be paid by the people. I wanted to kind of eliminate the aspect of money, because with money then it becomes politics and so forth. And so I loved coffee. I was a big Starbucks fan back then. In 99, huge Starbucks fan. And I didn't want to own any property as a church, quote unquote, right? Would work out of Starbucks every day, do my meetings and so forth. And I felt the quality of Starbucks was dropping radically because they were opening 2 a day, and that was their growth period. And I decided to do it myself. So I went out, studied coffee, went out to Seattle for 4 months and worked as a barista with a couple of buddies of mine. We learned the business, came back and started a coffee company called 2 Street Coffee Garage. I put money in, my buddies put money in. We raised about $175,000 and we opened up in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and 2 Street Coffee Garage was up and running, man. And it was time of our lives. And then, so I went into that coffee business. But again, that coffee company had the same principles. It wasn't about making the money in the coffee shop. It was about the people, create an environment that people really felt, both people that work with us and the clients come in, and just create a sense of community. And we built an amazing community of believers. I mean, I've had Marlins baseball teams sign contracts in that coffee shop. I mean, we attracted kids that, any given day you'd have a kid who worked at Taco Bell sitting next to one of the CEO or the general manager of the Marlins, just coffee together. We kind of leveled the playing field in life, and it was just a sense of community. The CEO of Zimmerman really started in our coffee shop. He called it his chapel, and he was a Jewish guy. So we did that coffee thing, and it was a great experience. 9/11 happened about 6 months after we opened. Tourism was completely annihilated at the time. And so now I was in survival mode with a coffee shop, and we were kind of going down quick, and so had to figure out how to do it. We ended up, the team came to me and said, I got the idea, how we're going to survive. They said, what is it? Because we're running out of money. So we're going to open up another one. They said, which? I said, we're going to open a second one up. What are you talking about? We can't pay the bills here. And we did. And tremendous things happened, John, that we ended up opening on the beach in Fort Lauderdale on Las Olas in A1A. Wow. In the historical Lauderdale Beach Hotel, which is now a condo high-rise. But we replaced the Dunkin' Donuts that was there and bought 2 Street Coffee Garage. I bought it with artists and equipment people and all kind. The first coffee shop cost us $175,000. The one in Fort Lauderdale on the beach cost us $11,000.
Wow.
And that became the saving grace of the company. I knew we needed synergy. And if I would have told the team, this true story, I was running marathons at the time, right? And I was listening to Sting. And then I went back, somebody listened to the Police a little bit, and I listened to the Police, and I was listening to Synchronicity.
Oh, yeah.
And it's when I thought, that's it. Synergy. The coffee shop needs synergy. So if I would have told the team that, I kind of did. I didn't say I got it from a song. Mm-hmm. But I said, synergy I believe, will create success. And it did.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry.
So what happened with that? So that location just started crushing it? Is that what happened?
The location, we were doing coffee, and one of my partners came to me and said, again, collaboration. The older guy, Larry. Matter of fact, I just pulled up a magazine article with him in it. He passed away in 2007. But I just brought it up the other day. But he came to me and he said, look, I got an idea for you. Now, again, we were coffee aficionados, so we were kind of purists. So he said, I think we should do fruit smoothies, because we had a beach location. He goes, at 11:30, no one's buying coffee anymore. And we were killing it from 5 in the morning to 11:30. But he said, but everyone's on the beach. It's 1,000 degrees out. They don't want coffee. They don't even want iced coffee. I said, I'm not doing fruit smoothies. I said, we're a coffee shop. I come from Seattle. We're like Seattle-esque. There's no way. So anyway, we kept talking. I said, all right, let's try it. Oh my gosh. From 11:30 to 5 o'clock every day, it quadrupled what we were doing in coffee.
Wow.
Blew the company up. Ended up third location. Then I sold it to our clients that wanted I probably went into banking in my 4th year in the coffee business and said, I'm done with coffee. This was great. We saved it. We built it. It's going amazing. It's time for me to move out and figure something else in my life.
That's amazing. So you took some risks. I mean, those are some big risks, open up a second place and, adding smoothies and stuff. But have you always been, a risk taker? What's your view on risks?
Yeah. Calculated risk taker.
Yeah.
And the key word is calculated.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, when they get to know me, they realize, oh, I thought this guy just, rolled by the seat of his pants, just kind of, calculating what I do.
Yeah.
Very reflective before I do it. I talk to a lot of people about my ideas and what I'm thinking. I get their perspective. Firmly, if I believe in doing it, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to find the best way to do it that mitigates risk as much as I can. But I'm going to do it, whatever it is I want to do.
Yeah. And in a situation like that, the business was going down. You had to figure out something. So why not try? You got to try new things.
It was a crazy move, but it worked. It really, the assumption of synergy from the song Synchronicity of the Police. But,
sometimes you get your inspiration from different places and many songs.
Yeah.
So what happened next? Where'd you go? Where you got into banking?
So interesting story. Yeah. With the coffee shop, we had a deal on the beach that was a killer deal with the coffee shop, but it was, listen, it's just, we might get the green light and they're going to knock the building down. When they knock the building down, we're out. And so at that point, they're going to knock the building out. So I had a church that was approaching me during those 4 years in Boca that another church wanted me to come in. They were kind of declining in their numbers. And I'm pretty radical in what I do, and so I ended up going to this other church for 5 months. And, it was like Sister Act. You know, they had 35 people in it. I came back. A lot of the people came back. We came in, brought my musicians in, and then the place was hammering with people, man. It was just life, and it was so much fun. But unfortunately, the pastor and I are really good friends to this day. But he got a little threatened. He was a great guy, great leader. But, you know, sometimes threatened leadership. And now you got 1,000 people in your place from 35, but you're not the man.
Yeah.
I'm not the man either. I mean, you know what I mean? It's everybody's the person. You know what I mean? It's the woman. Yeah. But anyway, so I got fired again.
For being too
I
good.
tell people sometimes when someone tells me, John, they got problems. I said, what are your problem? They tell me what the problem is. I said, well, how about this? I got fired by God twice. Twice. What's your problem? But that really was good. It pushed me out, and I kind of just took it easy a little bit. And next thing I know, my brother called and said, hey, I got you an interview at Washington Mutual. If you want to do lending. I said, I don't want to do lending. But anyway, I ended up, you know, interviewing and became a banker.
Did you like that?
I loved it, man. I loved it. Once I got into banking and I started to understand the mechanisms of banking, and I realized, oh my gosh, it's the same as the church. One institution's the same as the other. People are ignorant. They take their money, and they make them afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, and they make money with people's money.
Yeah.
I'm just going to reverse it, and I did. I started to teach people leverage and how to better leverage money, because you're being leveraged, and the banks are notorious. I said, if you go to a bank, I said, there's no money in the bank. A bank can actually be, it can be a 3-foot structure,
Mm-hmm.
because there's nothing, it's just you put the money in, they take it right out and they invest it, and they make money with your money.
Yeah.
So let's just learn from that and start leveraging your money. And I started to become really successful in banking. I was in Park City, Utah. I was in California. And I was teaching principles to very successful actors and producers and directors, and showing them how to leverage second homes and so forth. And it was I had an amazing time. But again, my primary goal was helping people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's everything that I did was always with that in mind, helping people. And I ended up making a lot of money in banking, So that was great for me. And then, you know, obviously the implosion of 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And the banking industry was ground zero to that. I still stayed, but through my relationships in California in banking, I ended up getting a great opportunity. It was a startup for an animation film at the time, by an independent production company. And John, when you speak animation and independent in 2007, that's an oxymoron, because independent filmmakers weren't making animation films because it was just too expensive and they couldn't raise the money to do it. And it was a niche. Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar monopolized the industry.
Yeah.
But I was so enamored by the idea, and it was dealing with The Wizard of Oz, the sequel to The Wizard of Oz, and with the books by the great grandson. I thought, we'll probably never get it done, but what a great opportunity to try. And that's kind of been something in my pedigree my whole life. Is not, will it happen or won't it happen? Is, do I believe I should try?
Mm.
You know, believing that, we're going to make this, it's going to happen. No, or it's not going to happen. No, those are beliefs that are predictions. The belief has nothing to do with the prediction. That's where I think most leaders and individuals make mistakes. They make predictions about the future. Oh, I believe we're going to be successful. That's why you should help me do this. No, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Because then this person comes and says, I don't believe you are going to be successful. And both of those are predictions.
Yeah.
I never I don't know what the future holds. I have no clue in the world. So I mind my business. What I do is, do I believe that I should be trying what I'm doing? That's where belief comes in. Do I believe I need to get up every day and try to make this a reality? Irregardless of whether I believe it's going to succeed or fail, irregardless, do I believe I should try? And that's what's governed me my entire life. Belief, not outcomes, but do I try this?
That's a great perspective. And I take so much away from that, because I think everybody that's really driven and motivated, they're so fixated on the outcome, and it's the journey. It's the belief that it should be something that you do and you try. I love that. So, and what did that, Did you have just question on the Wizard of Oz? How did that come about? Was that just something you've always been a big fan of, Wizard of Oz? And then,
No, I didn't even like The Wizard of Oz. I don't think I ever watched it start to finish prior to that. But what I recognized, John, was, and again, opportunity is really important. People, and no one knows what an opportunity really is. Like it doesn't show up and you go, oh my gosh, this is massive. No, you have to, if it did, everybody would grab the right opportunities, right?
right.
But what I did understand was, and I said no to the production company for 7 months. I said, no, I'm not doing this. I don't do film. I don't do this. I don't even raise money. I never raise money.
So they asked you to raise money for that. Is that what it was?
Yeah, they said, can you help us?
Okay.
We need to raise 20 million for a DVD. And I said, nah. I looked at it. I looked at this production company. They were doing live action films, $1 million budgets. Nice films, but I'm a calculated risk taker. And at the end of the day, end of 7 months, I did my research. For leaders out there, I did my research. I studied the animation industry. And my takeaway after 7 months of studying the animation industry was, John, this is one of the most lucrative industries on the planet. And nobody knows that. Mm. The movie's a lost leader. It's the thousands of ancillaries, products that they're selling for 50 years after the movie comes out.
Yeah, that's
Each film is $1 billion industry. Each film is $1 billion franchise.
Wow.
Each film. Long after the film is watched, and then there's DVDs, now there's streaming, and then new kids are born, and there's not enough animation, so they watch Lion King, and then they go to Disney, they go see holy cow, I thought this is absolutely unbelievable. This is a lucrative industry. Then these guys were dabbling with The Wizard of Oz, the sequel, which everybody watched The Wizard of Oz. Everybody heard. I think it was the #1 all-time movie musical and the #1 all-time movie in history. So that 7-month due diligence process for me, everywhere I was at, I'd ask strangers, hey, have you heard The Wizard of Oz? Heard of it? They go, yes. Have you seen it? Yes. I did this for months. No one ever said no. So I knew I was dealing with a real good intellectual property with The Wizard of Oz. It was public domain, so anybody can do this. It was a sequel. And so I thought, this is a freaking opportunity of a lifetime, John.
Yeah.
We can pull this off, which I don't think we will, but that's a prediction. So I don't go by the prediction. I just go by, I believe I should help them. I remember but I said no. And the CEO said to me, can I ask you why? We've been talking for 7 months. I mean, this has been great. Now you say no. You're not gonna, I said, you want me to be honest? And he said, yeah. And this goes right back to the early days of the ministry. Who do you work with? And he said, I can be honest with you. He said, yeah. I said, I don't think you have the leadership abilities to get it to the next level. I said, you've been doing this for 15 years and you're toying around with live action films, $250,000 to $1 million budgets. And I said, and you're 51 years old, and I'm looking at where you are today, and I'm realizing you want to go into the next level, and what's going to change? Because you want to go to the next level? That's not how you get to the next level. You have to look at why you're stuck, where you're stuck at, and what is it going to take? What kind of perspective change is it going to take? What kind of difference in leadership is it going to take to get to the next level? And I don't believe you or your family have it. I'm a calculated risk taker.
How did he respond to that?
It was tough for him to respond that way. That's why I said, you want me to be honest? And I didn't apologize for that. That's the truth. Like I have to gauge, do I really believe the leadership can happen? I tell people all the time that are going out raising money for their companies. I go, listen, it's not your product. The first thing that they want to look at, what's the product? And they go, oh, I love the product. This is great. I said, but immediately that's no longer the focal point for an investor. It's you. And do they believe you and everybody around you can execute? It doesn't matter how great. And whether they tell you that or they don't tell you that, that's what they're thinking and that's what they're gauging their investment on, if they believe that you can execute.
Exactly.
So leadership is so vital.
Yeah. That's just being candid. I mean, so many people, that's what I love about you. And that struck me when you're now doing work with other CEOs. I mean, you just tell it like it is, which is great. And most people don't. But so then at that point, do you realize, hey, you know what? I still have this opportunity is there. not with this guy, but I'm going to take it on myself?
Well, I said, no, I didn't, no way. No, I mean, because it's not that easy, man. Like it's like handing me the instructions and the pieces, but there's no glue.
Yeah.
You know, that glue takes years of experience. So these guys at least they had the glue, but so no, I didn't think, I just walked away from it. But the problem was I'd wake up often in the middle of the night thinking about this because it was just haunting me that this is an opportunity. Like these two, and seriously, it wasn't like somebody was ringing my phone going, hey, we want to do a taco food truck. You're in? I mean, all right, so it's cool. I love tacos. I love food trucks, but how much are we going to really make?
Right.
Maybe we have 5 food trucks. You know what I mean? That's not animation, Wizard of Oz. I thought, shoot, this can be game changing for me, my family, generations to come.
Yeah.
So, and I really felt I needed to do it. So I went back to him and I said, look, and he would call every other day and ask, you know, and talk and chat. And I said, all right, look, here's the deal. I'll do it. I'll jump in, but here's the deal. I said, we got to do it together. Early years of this, we got to do it together. And you're going to have to trust me. I said, because I don't know what it is I'm going to tell you we need to do because I'm not in it yet, but there's going to be things, I'm going to see pathways. I'm going to see paradigm shifts to how you've been doing it that I believe we need to do it a different way. Because if we're going to follow the same track you've been following, I don't think we're going to get to the top of the mountain. I don't think we're going to get to the top of the mountain anyway, to be honest with you. And I was very honest with investors and teams of people. I never thought we would get it done, by the way. I mean, it's an arduous task, and that's a great part of the story. But I looked at him and I said, we got to do it together, and you're going to have to listen to me. He goes, yeah, but I'm the CEO. I go, I know you're the CEO, and I respect that, and I respect you, and I like you. I said, but your boat's going in a circle. And you're asking me to jump off my successful journey and jump in your boat that's going in a circle. And I'm not doing that. I can't get behind your leadership. We'll do it together. And he agreed to it. And the rest is history. We did it. We raised $122 million from 2008, basically 2008 to 2014. It was a featured animation film 3D with an A-list cast. Went in 4,400 screens, first independent film in the history of Hollywood to do an independent wide release, 4,400 screens. It was in 42 territories overseas. We have the Cannes Film Festival. We came in top 10 at Annecy Animation Festival. We had 30-some hundred revenue streams. Bandai Toy Company, Walmart, Toys R Us, Target all had us. I mean, we pulled off a miracle. And it was a slow-moving change. The production company changed. The leadership of the production company grew up and became great leaders, man. You know, I didn't do this. It wasn't me. You can't do some of that magnitude by yourself. But I was the catalyst in helping coach a CEO and get that CEO to the next level. And that's kind of why I do what I do today. I can get people. I know how to get things to the next level. So leadership. So we got them to the next level. And the only failure of the property of the concept was at the very end, we signed a bad distribution deal, which is when you sign a distribution deal. We signed it with Clarius, Bill Sadler, who just got arrested by the feds. Wow. 80-some counts against him. He steals money. We gave him $32 million to market the film and distribute the film. And it was the most horrendous marketing, one of the most horrendous, because he did it for several films. And the movie tanked in the box office. Nobody knew it was out.
Wow.
So, the production company, ended up going down. But, we achieved what we achieved to the very end. And the mistake was handing it to a third party who ended up just
unethical. Yeah. That's painful, that part of it. I mean, what a phenomenal success. Mm-hmm. And a piece of it, because somebody's, obviously a criminal that has their own interest in mind. Is the film available? I mean, can people see it?
Apple, Netflix, Legends of Oz, Dorothy's Return. Phenomenal. I thought really great film, great music, very touching stories based on the book Dorothy of Oz by Roger Baum, the great grandson of the author of The Wizard of Oz. We took his book and brought it to feature animation. You know what? And you learn. It took me a few years to get over that. That was probably the worst torpedo I ever took in my life. Because we were there, we did it. You got a distribution deal, you got the P&A, you got the seats. You have the seats. We had 4,400 domestic theaters. That means you had the capacity to do major numbers. If you have a $5 million P&A budget or $2 million, you don't have the seats. You're never going to do big numbers because there's only X amount of seats.
Yeah.
You do 4,400 theaters. That basically tells you what you're going to do worldwide, if it's marketed correctly.
So if you had, and I don't mean to put salt in the wound or ask a question, but had you chosen the right distribution company, marketing company, what would that have looked like?
Well, number one, it would have done, I think the film would have done phenomenal. And I'll tell you why. We had a window of time. In the animation industry, there's an unwritten rule. No, that's why it's a small club. Like if you look at the calendar of films, that not today, but back then that are released, every animation film that opens up on any given weekend, there will not be another animation film that opens up for at least 3 weeks. So because your first 3 weeks are your major box office numbers. So the animation industry unwritten rule, don't cannibalize somebody else's film. So you'll look throughout the calendars for 25, 30 years, you'll never see 2 animation films, other than when Katzenberg left Disney, went to DreamWorks, and then tried to stick it back to Disney. But other than that, you'll never see that. So I believe we had 7 weeks of no animation films. So everything fell in our place. If that film was marketed correctly, $32 million to market, it was a robust budget for that. We would have seen really, really great numbers, actually. Very successful. It would have had any level of success in box office ignites all your revenue streams.
Right.
So if we had any success in box office, mild success, it would have ignited those revenue streams, those ancillaries.
Yeah.
So that would have, really, we had everything was in our favor.
Is it ever something that you can go back and re-release at some point, or how does that work?
Listen, I tried to think through everything, but the problem for me and many of the people around us, the investors, many of them joined in to help. And that torpedo so took me out, John, like psychologically. I was probably half the person that I was before that happened. And it just riveted and gutted me out as a person. It was just something that I'm not prepared for in my life. To succeed so big and to fail so big. Even though we weren't the failures to it. It didn't, you know what I mean? What we did, pulling that thing up the mountain, getting it to that, was a success, and will always be a success.
Yeah.
It will always be attributed to us as success. But we deserved, that outcome was deserved. It was like, just marketed. We didn't ask, we gave you them. So it really gutted me out, man. So I was mentally, and I always say that's when I orbited to the dark side of the moon as a person and as a leader.
How did you, I mean, you've gone on to this incredible success. Most people, when they get in that bad of a place, I mean, I'm living it through you as you're telling me. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that close, significant, unbelievable worldwide success, and have something uncontrollable, some shithead out there that's, obviously got their own, terrible morals and whatnot. But how did you get yourself back? I mean, what was that like?
John, I am self-made, and I'm an executor. I execute, right? I'm self-starter, self-motivated. My people would say Greg wills things into existence, and I do. I'll will it into existence. It's the will that gets things done. Mm-hmm. And when I went to this dark side, it's like my wand that I would will was when I hit my wand at something, flowers would come out of it. Mm-hmm. It was dud. There was nothing. I had nothing. And that was the first time in my life that I didn't know if I was ever going to get out of this, if I'd ever recover. It was the mental anguish, I think, and the psychological battles that I would go through. And then it affected every aspect, confidence, your mojo. Money was always third on my list. And, now it was 100th on my list. I hated it because it destroys people's lives. Like this, this could have changed 1,500 people's lives that invested into the company, the production company. you know, the people, everybody that was so connected to this, it had the ability to change people's lives for generations to come. So it wasn't just, oh yeah, you know, no, it was what should have been. It wasn't. So for me, it was a lot of anguish. I didn't think I was going to come out of it, dude. And I couldn't help. Like, this is the first time I couldn't will myself to do something and create something. I couldn't beat it. Could not beat it.
Wow.
So I didn't know, John. And strong as I am, and I'm a very strong leader, man, and I got a very strong mind. It definitely, you know, paralyzed me in so many ways. And it was about 3 years, man, 3.5 years of just starting and stopping. I'd get involved with a project, and I couldn't do it. I didn't want to do it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What ultimately was it? How'd you get out of it?
It's a blur.
Yeah.
But but the only clarity I have was I had to go back. I had to reverse engineer, right? Like, we live in the present, right? It's all we have. And sometimes the present, because it's all we have, it's the closest thing, is not really the greatest gauge of reality. Well, definitely, certainly of interpretation of who you are and what you know what I mean? So it was when I started to reverse engineer and go back and realize you're a badass, man. Like, look at this. Look at you. You know, look at your kids, right? Look at your relationships. Look, and I had to really come to grips with what actually happened here. Who actually, excuse my language, effed up?
Yeah.
Who actually effed up? Me? No. No. That, and I started to then go, you know what, man? F that. I am friggin' awesome at what I do. That's not arrogance. It was confidence. The confidence was coming back. You serious? Like, you know, we took it from here to here. I mean, so all of a sudden I started to believe in myself again because I reverse engineered. I went backwards and I looked at all the things that I did, all the people's lives that I impacted, what my intentions were all through my life. Always, hey, I'm sorry if it didn't work out, but it doesn't make me bad. Doesn't make me a failure. And that all of a sudden, man, I stood up and I had confidence. You know, it lasts for 2 days, and then all of a sudden I go, no, I don't have any confidence. No, I don't. I go back like the lion from the Wizard of Oz. You know, I go back. But then after a while, it was like, now I would have confidence for 60% of the day. 40% I wouldn't have it. But then 70% of the day. Finally, back to 100% of the day, I have that confidence again. It doesn't, and now I'm healthy, and you know, but it was scary, man. I think some of you out there that have gone through some failures, you know, and I was the first one to always say, failure is the major part of your success. You've got to fail to succeed. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I got it. Believe me, I said it, I lived it, I failed, I got up. It was easy. This one was so hard for me, John. This one was just catastrophic. And I think, you know, there's an old saying, the higher you go, the longer the fall. Yeah. So, man, it was like taking a hot air balloon up to the stratosphere and then jumping.
Wow, man. But you finally get your confidence, your swagger back. And then so talk to me about getting involved in Pulse, because I think was that the next kind of endeavor?
Pulse right after the animation film. Matter of fact, the weekend we opened in box office for the animation film in 2014, next week I was in Vegas, putting Michael Jackson back on the stage at the Billboard Awards. It was literally a week apart.
Wow.
And that was a massive success. So we had started, I worked with the former CEO of Digital Domain that went bankrupt. He called me during my tenure with the Arts Project, asked for some help, etc. I got involved with him, just him, for the first year. He was, little did I know, he was going to be me. He was a replica of me in 2 years. He was defeated, failed, didn't have the confidence. And I kind of worked with him as a CEO and really helped build his confidence back up, meet with him every week and so forth. And then finally he was back and he said, hey, I got this idea. I've got these properties. I want to start a company of digital likeness. And back then nobody knew what digital likeness was, including myself. And, but his idea was sound. I saw the opportunity and got involved with him.
And you guys started right in was it your backyard or his backyard?
I'll never forget, man. Yeah, we met in his backyard in Jupiter Island, and in his guest house was the office, and it was him and his dog. and that was his team, him and his golden retriever. And then I would pop in, and and we were going to do, the whole idea prior to the Legends Project was we were going to go ahead and really launch a major animation studio, which he had running in Port St. Lucie for many years, called Digital Domain. He really had some great pipeline of animation films. So that was a huge experience. And even though I did that right after the failure, I was still a fraction of the human being. I still actually executed at even better levels than I did in the Legends Project, and made me, during my reverse engineering, I go, how did you perform to help get that? And I literally attributed it to, John, what I call inertia, right? Everyone learns inertia, right? What's in motion stays in motion. It's science. Let's get on to business. No, that's what's in motion stays in motion, including you, including momentum. Mm-hmm. And even though I thought, oh my gosh, this was a failure, I was still in motion.
Yeah.
And only working at 20% of my abilities, but performing much greater than I was performing in the last project.
Yeah. That's amazing. So I know, and your big breakthrough was the Michael Jackson 2014 Billboard Awards, which was unbelievable for people to see him on stage. I mean, it brought literally audience to tears. I mean, it was unreal. And what was that? So I know, first of all, it took a lot to get that, because there was a lot of talk with the Jackson family, right? I mean, there's a lot of effort. It was not an easy thing to get done, right?
Very difficult task to get done. The Jackson estate, that owns obviously the rights, the intellectual property rights to Michael. Then you had a company that was talking about a new type of digital technology that was in the market, like movies like Curious Case for Benjamin Buttons. That was not Brad Pitt in the first 52 minutes of the film. That was digital human. It's not Brad Pitt. It was a digital human acting like Brad Pitt as an old man.
I know.
Right.
I've
So
never known that.
Yeah, that film won an Academy Award for Best Makeup. There was no makeup, so they fooled the Academy.
That's unreal.
Technology. That was the first time in the history of digital human animation that it was able to actually fool people and believe it was a human being.
And when you're watching Michael Jackson on stage, and I don't mean to cut you off because I want to hear the rest of that story, but it looks like, if you're in the audience, I mean, it truly looks like he's right up there on stage, right?
Dude, at that time, now the technology is even better, but if you were 20 feet, you had to be about 20 feet from the stage, and you couldn't tell.
Are you kidding? That's unbelievable.
And there were live dances with him. There were other digital dances with him. There was
pyrotechnics
going on behind him that were real. There were things that were real, things that weren't real. So you
couldn't even tell
what was real and what wasn't real. He actually he touched the leg of his digital touched the leg of a physical human being on stage, and blew everybody away. 20 feet away, you had no idea. That's why it got the attention of the world. And for us, as a young startup, that's what we wanted to do. So we went to the billboards. Again, where's the opportunity? Leaders, I mean, listen up, man. Like, we had a startup. It wasn't like, oh, we have this great concept. It's going to work. Everyone's going to want to do it. Nobody wanted to even listen to us because nobody knew what digital human likeness was. Right. Going to the Jackson estate and speaking to the Jackson estate, really pushed them over the edge. We said, okay, so how much longer do you think you're going to survive as an estate selling mugs, T-shirts, and hats with Michael Jackson on it? You better put them back to work. And the idea is we can put them back to work.
Amazing.
Right. Then it was going to the billboards because their ratings were dropping dramatically. Mm-hmm. And so we went to them and said, we got something that might be able to boost your ratings. Leverage.
Yeah.
What is it? We're going to bring Michael Jackson back. He's going to sing Slave to the Rhythm, song he wrote in 92, never sang in a pub. They built a whole stage for us in the back end of that arena. It was 40 feet wide because there wasn't enough room on the front stage. Mm-hmm. They did whatever they had to do. It shocked the world.
Wow. I mean, the internet went crazy the next day, right?
Crazy. Our phones the next day rang off the hook from the Marilyn Monroe estate, Elvis estate, Frank Sinatra estate, Bob Marley estate. And that was the idea, to now again, half of the world loved it, half of the world hated it, but we had the world talking about it. That's marketing.
That's unreal. Unbelievable. So then, after that propels the company, I mean, to a whole different level, right? I mean, you guys are in a whole different league.
You would think. You would think, yeah, but a lot of stuff happens. Like it's hard. Like it's hard to launch a company, even with that type of awareness. You get right back into the nitty gritty of building a company, raising lots of money. Your burn rates are high. You don't know if it's going to work, if it isn't going to work. Again, we're all pioneering now. Bringing Mike, you brought him back for a show. Now, how do you scale this? And then the Elvis estate, we signed the Elvis estate, the Monroe estate. So yeah, it was, but finally, the company did, the leadership stayed intact. I left after 16. So I stayed with them in 13, 14, 15, and 16. I left after 16. And things worked out really well. It was bought by a company called FaceBank. It's doing real well. It's all over the news now for what they're doing from a subscription basis and from the technology. And so we did it great leaders that executed long after I left. We executed when we were there to keep it going and keep it alive. And then these leaders continue to execute. And we're very happy right now with the results of the company and what's going on. So, but it's a ride, bro. It's a ride.
That's incredible. I just think your life should be a movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow, man, that's amazing. And obviously you financially, that's an unbelievable success. I mean, you guys have done tremendously well, and in all different ways. I mean, that's to go from what you have, that wild ride. That's great to hear that, the nice, great, phenomenal ending to the story, but it's not the ending. I mean, you've now, why don't you share a little bit about what you're doing now?
So, after I've worked with different companies over the last 2.5 years, helping to scale, doing the same things that I did in a company, but now I want to create more of a fan approach, a larger scope of influence and inspiration and success for other companies. And so we're kind of giving bits of our time, myself and my team, to leadership and companies from all different levels, whether it's creating, better environments, working with millennials or Gen Zs, or whatever it can be, helping them achieve what they want to achieve. So whatever their big ass dreams are, their goals are, audacious goals, we come in and help. Can help them do that, working directly with leadership, CEOs, teams, or whatever that might be. Just giving great perspective to what they're doing, give them, broadening the lens for them. And so that's been a lot of fun. It's been something I've wanted to do for 10 years, believe it or not. Matter of fact, after the Legends Project, that was my goal. Post Legends was to go out and travel the world and really help the masses. So our goal today is to be able to offer and provide affordable coaching from people that have been successful at this stuff. Right. And so we have different tiers of how we can work with people, whether it's one-on-one or with their groups, or it's in what we call a huddle, where you might join a call, themed out, whatever that theme might be. And there's 5 to 15 of you on that call. So it becomes very affordable, but you're interacting with somebody who's greatly successful, whether it's myself or somebody else, in that space. And so we're really providing value. Our goal is to provide tremendous value for people to get them past whatever roadblocks, obstacles that they need to find the success that they want. I always like to say we help leaders to attempt failure to find greatest success.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that you're making it affordable. It's different. There's a lot of times people, to have the ability to get coached by someone with your level of experience and success and life success, and at the same point, be able to have different ways they can plug in and take advantage and learn from you, I think is fantastic.
Yeah, John, it's, I reinvent everything, not because it always needs to be reinvented. I just look at better ways to do things. I don't like the webinar models. I don't like the coaching models. I don't like the hour, you pay for an hour. I can't say hi in an hour, right? So how can I actually coach somebody in an hour? So we have a coaching program that it's called a meeting. And that meeting could go 2 hours, 3 hours, and you pay one price, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 hours. It's a meeting. You're going to have a meeting with me, and I'm going to sit there and help you. And I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to have, and if that helps you out, that after the 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, it usually does. We usually get, obviously it does. We get really good results, and leaders walk away and going, you just gave me what I needed. And that's what you want.
Yeah.
We're not looking to create I'm not a placenta. I'm here to give you what you don't see, help you see, give you a perspective give you the hope, and then you have to get the inspiration to go do it, and they do, and they're leaders, and they go ahead and they do it. And that's kind of the whole concept that we lead by. We don't want you to be connected to me or anybody else on our team that you need. No, you're a leader. Sometimes you just need a perspective, and it's worth $500. It's worth $2,400 if you have a pack, whatever it, and then we offer a 25-minute call for a really reasonable price. So you're going into a meeting, but you need to talk and say, I've already had a meeting. I need 25. Just give me that perspective. And now you 25, 35 minutes with them, and it's what a leader needs, And everything we do, we record. So they always have a library of their calls, and so they can go back to it. And then, like I said, the huddle is because I don't like when somebody says, no, I can't afford that. Okay. So I'll make it affordable for you. Mm-hmm. How's $100? So you join a call with 5 people, right? It's going to cost you $100. 2.5-hour call. You get to interact with myself or another great leader that's going to answer your questions, dialogue with you for 10, 15 minutes. And you're going to get to listen to the other 4 people, dialogue, same theme. So you're learning a ton of shit in 2.5 hours.
That's great.
Yeah, but I can't afford $100. Well, I'll tell you what. Then don't eat Taco Bell for this month, or go wash cars, because everything you're going to hear in that call was paid for through our blood, our time, our energy. Our kids paid for. Right. In the early years, I take my kids to the mall, and I went to Aunt Annie's Pretzels. We split one pretzel between 4 of us because I couldn't afford to buy 4 pretzels.
Wow.
But I was still doing what I was doing to become who I am today. And you're going to tell me you can't afford to get in the call? Then go figure out how you can get $100. Because if you don't value it, if we don't value it, you won't value it. So that's the principle. So don't eat Taco Bell for a month. You'll have $100.
Right.
Right. I mean, so we love that. When people say, well, can I do a pre-call with you prior to, no pre-call. I've got 70 podcasts that I've been on out there. You can read all about me. That's enough. I'm not going to spend 5 minutes so you can think. There's plenty of content on the internet you can read, good and bad, make a decision, and so that's just, now again, that's a posture.
Yeah.
As a leader, I'm leading myself, and then I lead a certain way and people will follow that leadership.
Right.
It's not arrogance. It's just like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, right. You gotta help people make the right decision if they're not willing to invest in themselves, especially at such a low price point in their own development. That's not the right person. Right.
We believe, look, we deliver value. So you're not paying for time. You're paying for the value that's delivered in time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Remember, that's it. So be careful who you choose to give your money to spend time with. Make sure they're dropping value.
Yeah. Right.
Wow,
man. Well, I know we're at the end of our time here. I want to be respectful of your time. This has been amazing. It could keep going on for hours. But what do you want? What do you think? You got an audience of people here, and we cover all different walks of life. You've got leaders that are in organizations looking to take the next step up. You got company leaders looking to take their organization up. You got people that are just looking to lead their life a little bit better. What might be 1 or 2 things you might want to leave with them?
Look, if you need help and we're available. I mean, the reality is, I love what we do. My team loves what we do. It's what drives us every single day. It's why we get up in the morning. If for some strange reason you don't have money, we do pro bono calls, but you get on a wait list for that call. So we do give but if you need help, I mean, that's what we do. We love to do it. And by the way, we're not professional coaches. We're still building businesses. So we're in the middle of it as well. And so that keeps us fresh and moving and so forth. So, I think everybody out there, if you can always use a perspective, man. And if it works, reach out to us. That's great. How do people get a hold of you? It's info@gregcentineo.com. So CENTINEO, info@gregcentineo.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn @Greg Centineo, Instagram @Greg Centineo, Twitter @Greg Centineo. Okay. I don't really mess with Facebook, but. And I want to give a quick plug. Your son is Noah is a superstar in Hollywood, right? And Netflix films and whatnot. I know we didn't get a chance to talk much about him, but what's he appearing in now? Man, I'm so proud of him, dude. Yeah, he's doing really great. Again, overnight success. No, 15 years, for him really busting. He's 24 now. Yeah, he's doing great. Was in To All the Boys I Loved Before, which was one of the largest watched film in Netflix history, which kind of changed, blew his career up, man, big time. But he worked really hard prior to that with the Fosters and Disney films and shows and so forth and other things. But that's given him, really put him on a trajectory right now that's changed everything. They just announced a film with The Rock that he's doing. Oh man, I can't believe I forgot. But a superhero film that
Oh,
Dwayne The Rock has been dying to do, and he's producing it. It's called Atom Smasher, I think, or something. I can't believe I
yeah,
forgot.
I know what you're talking about. I'm drawing a blank on the name too. Yeah, that's coming out in theaters. When is that going to be?
Yeah, they start filming, I believe, in early 21.
Okay.
It's a pretty substantial film. So it's the new franchise, man. It's the new DC franchise.
Yeah.
It's going to be going for the next 10 to 15 years, just like you had with Marvel. And so this is the brand new film. So Noah's got this. He'll play this really cool character. I think Noah is Adam Smasher. And I apologize, guys. I forget.
Wow.
And that's a really great character. And The Rock is Adam something. But I might have it all backwards. But anyway, yeah, Noah's doing really well. I appreciate you asking. And my daughter as well. She's 25. She's killing it in the industry as well. Works for a great production company. They did the film. Which one? They did Midway that came out last Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great movie. And
Yeah, great movie.
my kids, man. They whoever knew they eventually will be in the industry and so forth. But
That's amazing. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So
thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
great, man. Well, thanks for joining us. Honestly, it's been a pleasure. And we'll put all the info in the show notes so people have a way to get a hold of you. And it's been great hearing your stories, man. Congrats on all your success.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate you, and I wish you all the success, man, with this. You've made some big moves yourself, and I'm really happy to hear that. And I think, knowing you now, and you're going to do great.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Good stuff. We've been here with Greg Centineo with Tomorrow's Leader, and keep liking, keep sharing, keep making comments. We appreciate your followership. And again, Greg, thanks for your time. It's been fantastic.
Thank you, John.
All right. Take care.